I think his whole interest in lawyers having a duty and responsibility to use their talents as lawyers to help the community generally is the fundamental premise upon which the Vance Center started. And in terms of his expertise in foreign affairs and his commitment to taking the concept of pro bono work and public service, not just in our local community, but to the broader legal community, I think the Vance Center has taken that concept and really embraced a novel idea of public service pro bono work for human rights organizations and other non-governmental and governmental entities around the world that need that kind of assistance. And I think that's really where the idea came from for the Vance Center's international work.
10 years later, through the Vance Center and its lawyers, there was a pro bono declaration of, I think, 500 top law firms and universities celebrated in Santiago, where each of these law firms committed that their partners and associates would give X number of hours, which is important in terms of the work, but even more in terms of inculcating a sense of civic responsibility and commitment to democracy. And I think Dad would be so pleased to see that work happen in such a relatively short period of time.
It really is a startup, not-for-profit on a global scale that I think has had huge impact. And you talk about the successes in South and Latin America. I think that it's been remarkably successful in a conservative legal environment for this principle, this value of pro bono work to take root and to grow and to flourish.
In terms of advancing democracy and the rule of law, I live, as you know, abroad a lot of the time, and I know how difficult it is to advance the rule of law. It's one thing theoretically to have ideas, but to get the people of a country to embrace it is completely another.
And I think it is also a lean organization.
Yeah.
It is an organization that has accomplished a lot without a huge amount of resources accessible to it. So it has taken the resources that it's been generously given by donors, New York City law firms and the right, it has stewarded, and the like, it has stewarded those resources very well, invested very well in projects, very carefully, very thoughtfully. And I think the success that you've seen is a result of careful management, focused strategic planning.
Exactly.
And I think he would also be pleased that the organization has managed itself so well and built itself up so well over the period of time.
Now, I think that's a really important point. I agree with you. Another thing that I love about the Vance Center is the commitment of the advisory board members. All these advisory board members are top partners in their firms, which are the top law firms in New York. Very, very busy people. But I have been to meeting after meeting where these lawyers are so engaged in the projects they are doing for the Vance Center, and they are leaders. They're global leaders in terms of their profession, and their time and commitment makes a huge difference, I think, in moving the organization forward.
I think Dad ultimately achieved success as a diplomat and as a lawyer because people trusted him. They understood what his values were. They knew that he would stick to his values and principles, and that while he was enormously respectful as a listener, I think one of his great talents was that he was a listener, and that he wasn't the first person to talk, but he would make sure that everyone's point of view had an opportunity to be aired and considered, and that enabled people to, when they were respected, to move closer to consensus because they'd been listened to. And he had the ability to bring people together to compromise, and he had the willingness to compromise, but he was guided by core values and core principles, which at some point were immutable. And his own decision to resign a job that he obviously believed passionately in, that is leading the foreign policy for the United States government as Secretary of State, he was prepared to walk away from it as a matter of principle. So principles mattered to him, and I think that's one of the core reasons why his counsel was sought and respected. Global advancement on issues of human rights, on issues of foreign policy and fairness are most often successfully achieved as a result of partnership, not unilateral action.
Exactly.
And I think he understood that, and I think few people appreciate that. They believe that by being a unilateral actor, or that unilateralism is most effective way to go, when in truth, long-term change, particularly when dealing with other political environments and other cultures, isn't something you can dictate often to other countries. It's something that has to be discussed and moved forward through partnership.
I also think Dad used to tell me, and I'm sure he told you too, that for him the most important thing in his life was being a lawyer. You know, you would have thought it would be being Secretary of State, but he said being a lawyer was really mattered. And one of the positions he loved the most was being head of the New York City Bar. So I think he would also be so proud that this organization in his name combines both his love for the law and his love for foreign policy.